The true Patrick kept the commandments of God and believed in the Bible. Patrick rejected the union of church and state. More than 100 years had passed since the First World Council at Nicaea had united the church with the empire. Patrick rejected this model. He followed the lesson taught in John's Gospel, when Christ refused to be made a king. Jesus said, "My kingdom is not of this world." Not only the Irish apostle, but his famous successors, Columba in Scotland and Columbanus on that continent, ignored the supremacy of the papal pontiff. They never would have agreed to making the Pope a king. When the papacy tried to take over the Celtic Church, they found that they needed to replace Patrick with a false Patrick. Centuries were to pass before the papacy discovered that his, Patrick's, merits were too firmly established to be overlooked. It, the Catholic Church, labored to gather Patrick into its fold by inventing all kinds of history and fables to make him a papal hero. The papacy invented a false Patrick that they said was a Roman Catholic, since the Irish held the true Patrick in high regard, to put a wedge into the Celtic Church in order to make them easier prey to the errors of the papal church. It seems to have been customary in the Celtic churches of early times, in Ireland as well as Scotland, to keep Saturday, the Jewish Sabbath, as a day of rest from labor. They obeyed the fourth commandment literally upon the seventh day of the week. Columba, a great missionary student of Patrick's school in Ireland, foretold his death in a way that shows that at his time the Irish church was keeping the Sabbath. Here is how one historian relates it. Having continued his labors in Scotland 34 years, he clearly and openly foretold his death, and on Saturday, the 9th of June, he said to his disciple Diarmait, "This day is called the Sabbath, that is, the day of rest, and such will it truly be to me, for it will put an end to my labors." Thus, if you want to honor the true Patrick, perhaps it would make sense to honor the day he kept in honor of his God, the God of the Bible, who said, "Remember the seventh-day Sabbath." But instead of honoring the true Patrick on St. Patrick's Day, do we perhaps honor the papal counterfeit? Why do we celebrate it on the 17th of March? Regardless of the official reasons, why do the occultists say we celebrate on that day? A witch states the following: "It wasn't arbitrary that the day honoring St. Patrick was placed on the 17th of March. The festival was designed to coincide, and it was hoped to replace the pagan holiday known as Ostara, the second spring festival, which occurs each year, which celebrates the rebirth of nature, the balance of the universe when the day and night are equal in length, and which takes place at the spring equinox, March 22nd this year." In other words, St. Patrick's Day is yet another Christian replacement for a much older and ancient pagan holiday, although generally speaking, Ostara was most prominently replaced by the Christian celebration of Easter. The eggs and bunny come from Ostara traditions, and the name Easter comes from the pagan goddess Ostre. Now what about some of the practices and symbols at this time of year? First, let's look at the leprechaun. Does this cute little creature have a cute origin? What most people don't realize is that the word troll comes from the Old Norse word for demon, and is defined by some sources as a devil, a person of great wickedness or maliciousness. So when your child brings home a troll, he or she has actually brought home a representation of a demon. These demons are also disguised as gnomes, pixies, dwarves, leprechauns, and elves, as well as many other creatures. I'm sure you recall the Keebler elves. Of course Santa has his elves too. There's Snow White with her 7 dwarves, and Cinderella with her fairy godmother. All these are demonic representations, but they are presented in such a cute way that most people have no idea of the evil character behind these objects. Do we really want to display a demon on our decorations and clothing at this time of year? Now why the green? Everything is green at this time of year as far as decorations go, and if you don't wear green, you get pinched. But why is this? According to Doc Marquis, but he, the leprechaun, is green for a reason, because he is an earth creature. This is why you see all the green in St. Patrick's Day. It represents nature. This is a nature-oriented occult ceremony. Could the pinching of those who do not wear green be persecution of those who do not worship nature, those that resist pantheism? Another reason for the green is, the color green has for many years been regarded as an unlucky color in Britain and America. The origin of this superstition is that it was the color of the fairies and little people, and that they had such power over it that they could easily steal away anyone they found wearing green. In contrast, it is interesting to note that in several European countries, Green is regarded as lucky because of its association with the spirits of the trees. And superstition there says that to hang green branches over doorways not only keeps away misfortune, but drives witches and demons off. Remember that fairies and little people are just representations of demons. Although I don't believe it is wrong to wear green, if you wear green at this time of year because of St. Patrick's, could it be that you are giving the demons a foothold in your heart? Now, a note of interest is that since most of the symbols of this holiday are associated with luck, it seems that they might be dedicated to Lucifer, since the word luck is derived from the word Lucifer. Saying that because something good happened to you, you have good luck, is doing away with God, because every good and every perfect gift is from above, and cometh down from the Father of lights. One thing seen a lot at this time of year is 3- and 4-leaf clovers. Although there is nothing wrong with clover growing in your yard, why is everything decorated with it at this time? According to legend, Patrick used the 3-leaf clover to teach about the Godhead, but where did it actually originate? The Druids believed that a 4-leaf clover could help in spotting witches or other demons. Some modern-day spiritualists claim that a 4-leaf clover releases energy and helps one's judgment. It is said that Patrick used the clover to explain the Trinity of God. However, the shamrock, Persian word for 3-leaf clover, known as a shamroy to Ireland, was a symbol used in Druidism, pagan demon worship, to explain the 3 faces of the goddess found in the moon: maiden, mother, and crone. Now, I do not discredit the fact that Patrick may have used the 3-leaf clover to teach, but if he did, it was probably in ignorance of the pagan concepts associated with the 3-leaf clover. Or it could be that this was just a legend that those bringing paganism into the church came up with to help promote the use of this pagan symbol. Whatever the case, should we who know better use the ignorance of our fathers as an excuse for pagan idolatry? If we wish to honor the true Patrick, let us honor his God by keeping the Sabbath and cutting off idolatrous paganism. We have looked at some of the more major holidays. Now we will look at some of the more minor ones. In this video, we cannot possibly cover every holiday, but we have tried to cover some of the more well-known ones. First, we will take a short look at Imbolc, or Groundhog's Day. In Masonic and Occult Symbols Illustrated, it tells how witches celebrate Imbolc, also known as Imbolc. Imbolc is also known as the Feast of Torches, Oimulc, Lupercalia, Feast of Pan, Snowdrop Festival, Feast of the Waxing Light, Brigid's Day, and probably by many other names. Some female Wiccans follow the old Scandinavian custom of wearing crowns of lit candles, but many more carry tapers during their invocations. This custom of a crown of candles is unfortunately fed to the children, particularly girls, through a seemingly innocent book, The American Girl, Kirsten. Whether people realize it or not, our children are being desensitized to witchcraft. Now some may wonder why it is that Imbolc has been substituted with the groundhog. Imbolc is the day marking the recovery of the goddess or Earth Mother. How does that match with a groundhog? The following quote shows why. What most people do not realize is that the pagan view of Groundhog's Day, Imbolc, represents the Earth Mother. Consider the uncanny parallels between the groundhog and the Earth Mother. As the Earth Goddess sleeps inside the Earth during the winter season, so does the groundhog. Both the goddess and the groundhog awaken in the spring. Both the goddess and the groundhog represent the cycle of rebirth and renewal, and both the goddess and the groundhog complete the cycle of reincarnation. Even on the surface, the groundhog divines the future, a practice forbidden by God in Deuteronomy 18:10. As we see, this holiday isn't so innocent. Does the seemingly harmless holiday of April Fools also have a danger hidden behind the fun? First off, April Fools is 13 weeks from New Year's, but disregarding all occult numbers, can a true Christian keep this holiday? In Psalms 14:1 it says, "The fool hath said in his heart, there is no God." Should we really be keeping a holiday that is fit only for atheists and skeptics? To add to that, this day for those who celebrate is typically done where someone tells a lie about something, and then when the person realizes they were deceived, the first person says, "April Fools." In the book of Proverbs, it describes this situation. It says, "As a madman who casteth firebrands, arrows, and death, So is the man that deceiveth his neighbor, and saith, Am I not in sport? The Bible says a person who lies and then says, just joking, or April Fools, is like a madman. But to make this even more non-Christian, since this holiday results in calling people fools, we read in Matthew 5, Jesus says, But I say unto you, that whosoever is angry with his brother without a cause shall be in danger of the judgment, and whosoever shall say to his brother, Raca, shall be in danger of the council. But whosoever shall say, Thou fool, shall be in danger of hellfire. Now we will take a quick look at May Day. It falls on Beltane, a day of human sacrifice. This is how one witch described the ritual done on Beltane. Fires are lit, and the great fertility ritual of the god and goddess is celebrated with maypoles, music, and considerable frolicking in the greening countryside. May is a lusty month. The 5th month in the year expresses all the sexual and sensual meanings in the number 5. The sexual forces of springtime abound everywhere, and as the folk songs say, we go a-maying. Symbolically, we celebrate these forces of the season by erecting maypoles around which young men and women dance, entwining multicolored ribbons, weaving themselves together as they wrap the pole in festive colors. As a side note, although occultists may have sensual meanings for the number 5, God is the opposite. He gave us 5 senses which we should guard against sin. He tells us to touch not the unclean thing, and I will receive you, and to take heed what ye hear, and many other commands to guard our sight, taste, and smell. And in Isaiah 33:15-16 it says, He that walketh righteously, and speaketh uprightly, he that despiseth the gain of oppressions, that shaketh his hands from the holding of bribes, that stoppeth his ears from the hearing of blood, and shutteth his eyes from seeing evil. He shall dwell on high. His place of defense shall be in the munitions of rocks. Bread shall be given him, his waters shall be sure. God's promise is for those who are guarding their 5 senses. On the subject of the maypole, we find out from an article in a New Age magazine that it was the maypole, with its phallic and pagan connotations, that brought May Day into disrepute among the 17th century Puritans. In both Old and New England, the custom of dancing around the maypole was outlawed by religious authorities. Perhaps we should learn from the Puritans. We will continue by looking at the summer solstice. The summer solstice, or Litha, is not a common holiday for us to observe, although the nativity of St. John falls on it. But many of us observe it second-hand, or allow our children to. According to Hyslop in the Two Babylons, one of the big parts of this Midsummer Night Festival was fire. Before Christianity entered the British Isles, the pagan festival of the 24th of June was celebrated among the Druids by blazing fires in honor of their great divinity, who, as we have already seen, was Baal. But to take a step further, we find the following description in C.S. Lewis's book, The Chronicles of Narnia. What is it, Aslan? Said Lucy, her eyes dancing and her feet wanting to dance. Come, children, said he, ride on my back today. Oh, how lovely, cried Lucy, and both girls climbed on the warm golden back they had done no one knows how many years before. Then the whole party moved off, Aslan leading, Bacchus and his Maenads leaping and rushing and turning somersaults, the beasts brushing around them, and Silenus and his donkey bringing up the rear. Then 3 or 4 red dwarfs came forward with their tinder boxes and set light to the pile, which at first crackled, then blazed, and finally roared, as a woodland bonfire on a midsummer night ought to do. And everyone sat down in a wide circle around it. Then Bacchus and Silenus and the Maenads began a dance far wilder than the dance of the trees, not merely a dance for fun and beauty, though it was that too, but a magic dance of plenty, and where their hands touched and their feet fell, the feast came into existence. Sides of roasted meat that filled the grove with delicious smell, and wheaten cakes and oaten cakes. To the uneducated reader, this sounds pretty innocent, although with our previous knowledge that dwarves represent demons, and knowing that Bacchus is a pagan god, may make some wonder. But here's what a former witch said about it. The above is clearly a description of the witch's sabbat of midsummer or the summer solstice, and it is described as such perfect detail. Certainly, by now enough is known to denounce this work as satanic and antichrist. Many people have unknowingly placed this book in their children's hand as a book revealing the great battle between God and Satan, but did not realize that they were placing in their hands a book that contained witches' sabbats, chants, and other evils hidden behind the symbols. To avoid issues like this, Paul wrote to young Timothy, "Neither give heed to fables and endless genealogies, which minister questions, rather than godly edifying, which is in the faith, so do.